It's episode 400 of Data Driven 4, and apparently it's always sunny in Farmville. Let's talk AI, building, and how we got here. From vibe coding to podcast automation, this is how AI changed the way we code, create, and scale Pod without bigger teams.
Hello and welcome back to Data Driven, the podcast where we explore the emerging field of data, AI, and of course, data engineering. With me today on a special, most auspicious day, I think I used that word auspicious, right? I'm not sure.
I think so.
Is my favoriteest data engineer in the world. How's it going, Andy?
It's going well, Frank. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We're recording this on January 7th, 2026. Can you believe it?
My goodness, 26. Whew.
This is the future, man. I'm waiting for my flying car, but until then,
Any day now. Any day
now. There actually is something at CES that they were showing. It was like a personal like drone that you can like stand in and like fly around.
No way.
The way I saw it, and I was like, but now we're at the point now. I'm like, could that have been an AI video? Never really can tell anymore.
Yeah, that's true. They are getting better, aren't they?
They really are. You've seen some of the experiments I've been doing on Frank's World on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see like, a lot of that, I'm not going to tell you which ones, but some of them are AI. So it's pretty amazing. Plus I can generate videos longer than 8 seconds on my Spark.
Nice.
My DGX Spark. So, which I don't think we've talked much about on the show, is kind of like this 2025 was the year for me of the home lab, right? Where, and you too as well, right? Like it was an interesting year. So I, in October, convinced my wife to let me get the DGX Spark. And if you're watching this on video, there's the box right there. I leave the box out because I know more than anything, the DGX Spark is as much of a status symbol as anything else. And seeing you cough is making me cough.
I know. I choked you up there. I
know.
Scrambling for the mute. I think the mouse was over on this third, like 3 screens over.
That's funny.
Trying to get to the mute button.
So, so I got DGX Spark, and it basically it's NVIDIA sells it as the personal AI supercomputer. It basically has a shared memory model, so it has 128 gigs of RAM, which means that I have about, depending on how much the system is using when you're using it, I have about 120 gigs of video RAM.
Nice.
Which, if you were to replicate that with a traditional kind of desktop PC, would be very pricey. I mean, you'd have to get 3 or 4 of the 5070s to, like, working in unison to get that much VRAM.
Right.
So that is, and it also has a Grace Blackwell chip in it, which is one of their more professional ones. I know we're recording this while CES is going on, so they've announced the new Vera Rubin stuff and all that. So there's definitely a lot more hardware innovation happening that I can't keep up with it, man. Like it's just, you can either pick the hardware side or the software side, and and then also this year I picked up I think I did talk about this on the show, where I picked up an i9 with a 4070 in it. That's a gaming PC, but it's a mini PC, so it's probably about the size of a cable box.
Nice.
Which this will make listeners, I know it made me feel old, but I told my my teenager, he's like, what's it look like? And I'm like, well, it's about the size of a cable box. You know what he said? What's a cable box? So
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So that is the world we live in today, I suppose.
I reckon, Frank. You mentioned we were the OGs.
We really are. So you were just on another podcast. So tell our good listeners why this one's special. Although I think Bailey may have ruined it by now.
Well, probably, but that's okay. Bailey's doing her job.
Hmm.
And thank you, by the way, for helping Bailey do her job. You are the man, the creator of Bailey. This is our 400th episode of the
Yep.
Data Driven Podcast. Can you believe that? 400.
No, I can't, man. It's wild. And it was about what 9 years ago we started you know, figuring out the logistics of the recording and things like that and working through it. And it's been an interesting ride, that's for sure.
Definitely. It definitely has. And, the show has evolved. You and I have grown, and we're 10 years older. And,
Yep.
and our
Hopefully 10
kids have
years wiser.
grown.
Hopefully 10.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Our families have grown.
Yep.
Your family has grown. And you've added to your family in the last 10 years.
Yep.
I have not, but I did reach a milestone last August.
Hmm.
My youngest son turned 18, and I
Wow.
realized in thinking about that, I realized that for 43 consecutive years, I was the father of at least one minor child. Now, in order to kind of span a gap there in the middle, um, I have to count time that Stephen was in the womb, but I knew he was there when my younger daughter from my first marriage turned 18. We we
Wow.
knew we knew Christy was pregnant with Stephen, but 43 consecutive years, Frank.
That's a solid lifetime.
That is being a dad. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
different. It's I don't like regret or have regrets or anything about. Well, I do have regrets, obviously, but I don't. It's not like a big loss. It's like I shifted gears. I'm now in this
Right.
new phase of it. But it's not just me shifting gears, Frank. You've done a lot of gear shifting. The market has done a lot. You mentioned keeping up, and I'll say this, and then I'll shut up. The way that I've found to keep up with both, at least the kind of hitting the high spots, both software technology, um, and even physics when it comes to quantum, is when Grok enabled the ability to create something called Grok tasks, and I want to say it was in 2025, early in 2025. I set one up for technology news,
Really?
and
I haven't
and it
really played with Grok that much.
so
So
at
this is,
5:40
yeah.
a.m. every weekday. Actually, it's every day at 5:40. An announcement shows up. That's when I scheduled it. It pops up, and I get a little thing on my phone, and I'll hit it. Or if I happen to be on Grok, and I am sometimes, I'll see the task gets populated there. Just click on it, and it gives me 6 or 8, sometimes 12 paragraphs on how things are going. I don't know if it's limited to Super Grok or not. I got in on Super Grok when it was basically an add-on. If you went from paying X, $8 a month to $16 a month, you got a subscription to Super Grok. So I think now if you buy it out of the box, it's like $30 a month. But I'm still paying 16
Oh,
and I get to use it.
it is $30 a month. Yeah, yeah. Apparently I'm on the free plan. So I didn't know that.
So
I thought I was paying for this, but now I don't feel so bad about not using it as much.
will they let you do a task on a free plan? I don't know what's available.
It says it does. It says the tasks
Great.
are, yeah. I have to take a look at that because that looks interesting. Um, just have to find it in the UI. Um, but
But
interesting.
I've got the client on my phone. That's one of the few AI clients I've got on the phone. I know you use some too.
Yeah, I have. So one of the things I did was, and I don't know if this deal is still available. If you sign up for Perplexity using PayPal, you get a year of Perplexity for free.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I don't know if that's still the deal, but I have Perplexity. So I have Perplexity, I have Gemini, and I have ChatGPT,
Okay.
and the free version of Grok. I also have Claude because I love Claude Code. And I thank you for turning me on to that because it has been transformative, right? Like, so, you did mention I have a 3-year-old and I have a teenager and I have a tween. So I don't get a lot of focus time. So, so I have to be very judicious with like what I choose to focus on. And the big advancement is Claude Code, right? Because there's a lot of things I want to code up. I just don't have time for, right? I don't have time to do
Right.
that. So this one project I'm working on, I'll kind of give a preview of it. It's called Podsy. And Podsy is meant to solve a problem that we're having with the creation of the podcast because we have this show and we have the Impact Quantum show, which is doing gangbusters. If you're not
Right.
already subscribed, check it out, impactquantum.com. But it's won awards, being the top quantum computing podcast by FeedSpot. It's on a really solid growth trajectory because again,
Excellent.
we've been podcasting now for 9 years, right?
Yep.
And that makes us kind of OGs in this game, right? This is
Absolutely.
and I was talking to somebody and I was like, like I'm good at this. And I don't say that out of arrogance because I've done it about 400 or 500 times, right?
Right.
If you do something 400 or 500 times and you don't get improved at it, you really have to be trying not to improve.
That's right.
So, and we have fantastic numbers on this show, but like, if you look at the growth trajectory, I mean, the potential is enormous. But one of the big challenges is that how do you track all of the assets that are related to a particular episode? And that's the
Yeah.
problem that Podsy is meant to address, right? So every podcast is going to have a transcript, an audio file or video file, maybe both. And it's also going to have a thumbnail image, right? So every show has at least 4 assets, right?
Hmm.
How do you deal with that, right? Because then at this point we're looking at 1,600 assets for all our shows, right? That's not a trivial data problem to master or to
True.
manage. So that's what Podsy is meant to do. So the reason why I say this, and the reason why I think this is an interesting use case for Claude Code is because on December 5th, I had a car accident. And, we're all okay. Car was totaled. The airbag did, though, leave a Honda-shaped imprint in my hand because it was a Honda, and the logo went smack into my hand. But aside from the hand injury, we're all okay. But that night, I just was like, I had this idea because I was getting frustrated because if I wanted to add a third show, and that's, we've talked about adding a third show, maybe, more shows beyond that, the logistics of managing all of that, content becomes an issue,
Right.
right? And that's what Podsy was. And how that ties into the accident is that I was feeling frustrated with the lack of progress of Podsy. I had thought I had this grand vision that we'd done in a week, right? Even with vibe coding it or whatever. When it got to like Christmas, I was like, all right, what the heck is taking so long here, right? And
Yep.
I basically looked at it, and it turns out that by that point, I'd written about 30,000 lines of code, or it had written 30,000
Wow.
lines of code, right? And it does about 90% of what I wanted to do. Now, think about that. 2 of my boys have birthdays in December. I had a car
Right.
accident. I had to close out a lot of things for my day job. And, you have the general, run up to Christmas. There's no way in hell I would have been able to do that normally, 30,000 lines
Right.
of code, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if I was doing it full time, no job, no children, no responsibilities, that's a stretch, in 20-ish days to hit 30,000 lines of code,
Absolutely.
right? That is, I'd have to, I mean, that's a full time, maybe 2 full-time coders, right? Again, I'm not going to shell out the money to do that, right? So in a sense, I'm not so much taking a job away, I'm adding to my productivity as an individual. Does that make sense?
Yep. And
I
that's
know.
exactly, that's all of it. And I mentioned to you that I am listening still to an audiobook called Vibe Coding.
Mhm.
And it occurred to me, and I think I posted this on social media yesterday or the day before. It occurs to me in this that there's more than one way to change the ratio for return on investment. And the role AI plays in that is exactly what you just described. And what it does is it takes one person, you or me, and it makes us 10 times more productive.
Right.
And it turns out that, we don't need to jack up the price, which would be one way to do it, kind of a, maybe not a very effective way to do it. Increasing the value would certainly support jacking up the price. But to increase value, you need to add features or functionality or some kind of way improve the code. Well, because ostensibly using an AI like Claude code to do that, you nailed it. You don't have the inclination to spend the money to hire a couple of vibe coders or a couple of coders to knock out 30,000 lines of code, and it costs you the cost of a Claude subscription to do that in the middle of all the rest of your life. And what's
Right.
happening is all across the board, all of these projects that have been on our list of when I get some time, I'll do that.
Right.
Or I joke about if it's not in the top 3 on my to-do list, it doesn't get done. That's changed. It's now
Right.
probably the top 20 because a couple of things that were hanging out there. A couple of weeks ago, I spent a day and a half revamping all of my Andy weather stuff, surfacing the data that's collected from my weather station sitting out here on the deck. And it took a day and a half. I had 2 applications that I rewrote. One of them was the one that posts on X. That's running again. It hadn't run since 2018. Rewriting the one that transfers the CSV blob from the old e-machine sitting over here up to, a Azure Blob storage container. And finally, the website, it looked like an engineer built it because an engineer built it. And that's not a compliment. And I'm the engineer that built it. But I had Claude rewrite it. Now it's got a little bit of savvy to it. And in addition to that, Frank, it's got 2 APIs running behind it. So
Interesting. Why do you
it
need a weather
is.
station? Isn't it always sunny in Farmville?
It is always sunny in Farmville, except when it's not. I noticed you're wearing a jacket, but it's January, and I know you're in a basement and it's probably chilly down there.
Yeah.
It is actually 74 degrees as we record on January the 7th. It is 3:46 p.m. in Farmville, Virginia. 74 degrees is what my instruments are showing me right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy hot.
It went from being like really cold. I mean, I am in the basement, and you can always tell if I'm running an AI workload or not based on, and I'm not running a workload currently, but when I have the machines going, it does get toasty in here. So,
Nice.
um,
Yeah, we're in an abnormal heat wave for January in the Mid-Atlantic, and I know you guys are warm up there too.
we're like at 50 today.
Wow.
And like a few days ago, it was, 17, 20 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
So it's not, yeah, it's kind of unusual, which is going to have
Yeah.
amazing impact on my sinuses. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
that'll be fun. That'll be fun to
But
experience. So
it is always
that's why
sunny in Farmville. You're
that's
right.
why I got these glasses.
I love those glasses.
These are blue blockers, and so if you're not watching, I kind of look. I don't know what I look like. He says I look cool. I
I
look like
think you
a
look cool.
So, no, like one of the things that some people think could be triggering the migraines and headaches is kind of like too much blue light. So I figured I'll
Ah,
give this a shot. I'll give it a shot. Plus, I feel like I look like AJ from the Y-Files because like you'll
you
see
do. He
like
wears glasses like that.
he wears glasses like that, and then I saw that and I looked up and I was like, what are those? And I find out, and I think the exact pair he wears is like $200.
Mm.
But we don't sell merch like tacklefish and things like that. So, um, And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, the Y Files is an interesting YouTube channel. It's also a podcast, but it's very, very well done. I think when I first discovered it, I binge watched it. Then I shared it to you, and I think you binge watched it.
I did too. Yeah.
A lot of good stuff on that channel.
Well, and he has a lot of throwbacks to some other stuff. And for listeners that are thinking to type the and the letter Y and files, it's WHY, the Y Files. Yeah. But the throwbacks go back for me to start. So I used to work third shift as a plant electrician back in the old days, and when the years began with a 1. And it wasn't uncommon for, me being on maintenance to had plenty of time to sit around after I'd done my, my scheduled maintenance stuff and fixed whatever may have broken. I was often idle. It was not always, but probably greater
only
than half
so
the
much
time.
happened. Almost only so much happens at 3 a.m.
But I had the radio on, and I would listen to WRVA 1140 a.m. in Richmond, and the Art Bell show would play overnight on that. And he's a AJ Gentile, the host of the show, huge Art Bell fan.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know who we're talking about, it's this whole. So welcome to conspiracy theory world here, right?
Yeah, he was Alex Jones. He was Alex Jones before there was Alex Jones.
Art, and he covered all of them. So Alex is, I think, a little more political, and cultural. Art was more like sci-fi, UFOs.
Yeah, and, like really X-Files type stuff, right?
Exactly. Mel's Hole.
Oh,
and you'll see stuff about Mel's Hole even on Y-Files merch. They've got some merch for Mel's Hole out there. So, but it's a fantastic podcast. It's just the art of it. And AJ has a career in entertainment.
And
I didn't realize this.
Particularly,
definitely radio, but he was also one of the producers or associate producers on Family Jewels, the Gene Simmons.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either, but there's somewhere, I want to say in social media and stuff, he posted some pictures a few years ago about him and Gene, collaborating on it. Gene Simmons, if you don't know, not everybody knows, bass player and leader of the band Kiss. Huge rock band in the 70s and 80s, and their lead guitarist passed away a few weeks ago. Ace Frehley passed away, and they actually did something for him at the White House, I believe. There was
I think so,
some sort of ceremony there. So yep, we're telling on ourselves, Frank. But
we're going on our off-road thing, which I think
that's
is kind of very on brand for us.
And 400 shows. We managed to miss this 399 shows in a row, and here we are going off on a tangent. First time ever.
I don't know about the first time. First time in the 400s, but no, I mean it's an interesting podcast, and I think what I like about it is he's advancing the art of podcasting, right, with Hecklefish and like as a
Very
character and things like that.
A lot of innovation.
Lot of innovation. I think one of the things that, also is, we've had Bailey. Bailey is no longer in the Quantum Show because some of our list, she doesn't really apply there, I think.
I see.
So, but we are going to do fun stuff like that. I'm toying with the idea of like a Professor Cubit.
That could
is
work.
kind of like a thing that could work. Wasn't really ready in time, but just conceptually. But again, like I think people focus on the jobs that AI will take away, but I also would pull from our own experience when we hired the voice actor to do the first, couple of seasons of the intro. We eventually replaced her with, AI once synthetic voices got good enough. And somebody's like, well, you really you took away a job from a voice actor. I was like, well, no, because getting a custom recording for every show would have been cost prohibitive. Would have been somewhere between $75 and $100, right?
Yeah.
And that's not really feasible. And I didn't think it was feasible.
That was going away no matter what.
But I wasn't going to do that anyway, right? Like, so I think also with this idea of the, most of us are, every developer I know, every data engineer I know, always has like a side project in the back of their mind they want to build,
Heck
but
yeah.
life responsibility. Now that excuse is really a lot lower, right? Like, I mean, now the question I have, now the question I have is, how many machines can I have running code at the same time, right? Because like I have all these other ideas, like, I have Dingo, which is, right now is just a command line tool. I want to convert that to a web application, right?
Sure.
Like Podsy and, you know, I don't know,
And
like
Podsy's amazing.
cool. Thank you.
Dingo's amazing.
Thank you.
It's good work, Frank. Frank
Thank
does
you.
all the work. I've said this before, but I never say it enough. Frank does all the hard work here on the show. And it's as our
You just
schedules have just gotten crazy,
you show
I've
up
been
and look
here less
pretty.
and less. Well, I show up. And I don't even show up that often anymore. That's so sad. But it's all I have is excuses. But it's just it's a good thing that work is as busy as it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the consulting, and I've been in an interesting situation for about the past 6 months. I don't know if it's going to last. We'll see. But there's been enough work out there that the teams have been doing for me to not. I can pay the bills and I don't have to do consulting billing, and
Interesting.
that's unusual. It's the first time ever in my life that's been true. So I had time and money. And I invested that money pretty heavily I invested the time pretty heavily in some stuff that's coming out, some data integration, lifecycle management suite stuff. But the big boost was exactly what you were describing earlier. It in applying Claude Code specifically to these coding tasks has made it possible for me to finish up stuff that I've been working on for 10 years.
Yeah, I know
So
you were showing me some stuff that you were building and some cool code names you have, as well as you have some acronyms. I like to think that I inspired you to come up with the cooler code names, but we don't know.
absolutely. Well, I I think the coolest code names actually Claude Code suggested.
Oh, really?
So it's been cool. Yeah, the one you reacted to most, the new big project I shared with you, and that's the biggest thing I've ever even conceived. It picked the name, and the name of the roles. It's first it's very applicable what it chose. The analogy holds, and then the names of the roles that are going to be parts, kind of like sub parts of
Right.
that project. Those are also very apropos.
Oh, very cool. Aponzi, I asked ChatGPT to come up with a list of interesting names describing what it's going to do, and Podzi was one of them.
Nice,
So, yeah.
great minds, Frank. Great
There you
minds.
go. There you go. I'm actually talking at Podzi because I'm building it from the get-go with the idea that it could be a SaaS it could be a service for other podcasters. Because if
Absolutely,
if
yeah.
we're having this problem, we
We can't
can't
be
be the
alone.
only ones, right? And if
Yeah,
nobody buys it, at least I solved the problem for myself, right? Um, and
that's it.
and for you too. Like, I mean, one of the things that this does, it leans pretty heavily into the AI side of how do you generate content from a podcast that you already made, right?
Right.
How do you track the content that you've created as a result of other tools like Opus or and if you've seen us on LinkedIn, like a lot of those short clips are generated by Opus, where
Yep.
it'll show kind of us talking. I know you use it, um, and it does the captioning, does the slick editing. You could have it add B-roll. I mean, it's just amazing what's possible, right? Like,
Yep.
um, I mean, people are amazed to find out how small of a team we are between this podcast and the other podcasts, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's
you
a
know,
lot of content if you think about it. If you're doing content per head count, we're up there.
oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
say we, and it's mostly you again.
I
It's
would say,
you're
yeah,
doing all of the you're doing the lion's share of it, north of 90%. And
not to
so,
toot my own horn.
well, but yeah, I mean, you started this with an
Yep.
eye towards automation. and you kept looking for shortcuts and then
Yep.
shortcuts for the shortcuts. And that's what's grown these tools. And I mean, it was Frank, we had only been doing this a couple of years when you started coming up with, scripts and stuff
Yep.
like that that would grab a transcript or parse the URLs and post things for us. It wasn't long at all, and it was what was available at the time. And I think you should do a demo of Podsy, just to show people how cool it is.
Like right now?
Yeah, I think you
Sure.
bring it up.
I'm gonna need a second to
And you got to keep in
spin it up.
mind that you've only been working on this, what, a couple months, a month maybe?
A month today, yeah.
Yeah. And so you started with the idea
Yep.
and
Well,
then it
I was
knocked out.
I was thinking about this for a while, like how to do it. But
Yeah.
the real challenge was the real thing that broke the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak,
Mm,
was the advent calendar that we did for Impact Quantum.
okay.
Which if you go, we'll make sure it's in the show notes, right? But if you go to impactquantum.com/advent calendar,
Yep.
pulling in all of that content into like one place was vibe coded actually, right? That whole HTML
Cool.
experience. But the issue I had was the effort to collect all the content and the data that I had. I'm telling Claude to start the dev server. I'm so lazy now. I don't have to type it in. I just started. But
That's efficient.
it's efficient, operational efficiency. It's not
There we
laziness.
go.
So ultimately, I realized we have this, we have the transcripts, we have all this, but like collecting it in the one place is just way harder than it needed to be. And I kind of had this in the back of my mind, like, what is this going to look like and things like that. And what am I going to do with it? And then really kind of the accident actually, like I had a lot of free time to kind of think, later that day.
Mm-hmm.
And, nothing will jar you out of anything faster than like an accident,
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so this, ladies and gents, and AIs of varying levels of sentiency, this is the current homepage for Podsy. I actually do have a domain name that's registered, podsy.studio, I believe.
Okay.
And there's going to be more marketing material here, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sign in. These are all test accounts, so you're not going to. I'll sign in. So right now we have two shows. There's Data Driven and Impact Quantum. And so I can see from my dashboard what I have, right? This tells me I have 97 episodes in the system, which I think is about right based on what the feed would be pulling, because we don't share every episode on one of the feeds because it would make the feed file super long.
Right.
But anyway, so you'll see my 4-to-1 ratio is pretty spot on, right? There's 401 assets here, and 97 episodes, right? So it's about a 4-to-1 ratio. So let's just go to from molecules to medicine. This was an episode 36 of Impact Quantum. And you will see that I have these tracked assets. Now, where it pulls most of these tracked assets are from the RSS feed, right? So every RSS feed,
cool.
so like, and I think you and I were talking and was like, we use Captivate. So there's other fields we could also capture too, but I want to start with a vanilla. If you have a podcast, you have an RSS feed, full stop.
Yeah.
Right.
Good call.
Because I think I could always add on later. So basically you have media, which is audio or this, you have video, you also have the audio, and you have the transcript. So what I have here is I have the web page that's associated with it. So I can go here, I click on this. This takes me to the web page for it.
Very
that
cool.
episode. right? Now, some of the stuff you do have to add manually, but that's fine. You can just add an asset and tag it to this. I'm also working on the ability to add a person, right? So we would add the name of the person, the guest, what organization they work for. My ultimate goal is to get a map of a graph of like how many people work in this industry, how many people work in this industry, and kind of
cool.
like see that. And that could tell a story too, right? Because at my heart, I am a data visualization nerd. So that's kind of the thing. But as you can see, I have the thumbnail, I have the transcript. So if I click on this, this is the transcript from that episode. And then what I can do from there is I've using the power, the magic of AI, right? So if I want to create an infographic or pull quotes, right? Let's just say, let's create a LinkedIn post. I know if you follow me on LinkedIn, this may be like telling you about the Easter Bunny, right? So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to click generate. So what this is doing here is this is saying, please write a LinkedIn post about this episode, right? And I'll open in Grok because I just added this today based on a conversation you and I had.
Cool.
So I click on that. I want you to notice two things. One, that prompt was automatically put into that text box.
Nice.
And Grok is working on it right now. I could do the same thing in Claude, Gemini, et cetera, et cetera. But while that cooks, I will show you that prompts, I have a template, little template language you could do for a prompt, right? So if I go here, I start off the prompt. This is actually based on the guest that we had on the first show of the season, Jeff Woods, was it?
Yes. Great show.
That was a great show, and it was basically how his book, the AI-driven leader, and his prompt framework. This is really kind of based largely on kind of that conversation, right? So I have a thing here. This is what I type, and I say, based on the following data about this podcast episode, provide a list. Oh, that's a typo, right? Can you give me a list of comma separated tags for WordPress, right? So podcast name, I can just inject that as part of this script kind of code here, right? So podcast name dot podcast dot name, episode title, episode description. Here's the URLs to the transcript, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'll save changes. And so if I go back, let's go back to here. Okay. So if I go here now, I will see, I will go tags, generate, and we'll do this one in Claude just for grins. And you'll see that it's there. And I click the button. Now it's going to generate the comma separated tags. So this is useful for things like YouTube where they want this type of metadata to help with SEO and things like that.
Sure.
And then while that's cooking, we can see, look at this is the finished product.
Nice.
Here. Now there's obviously things I need to do to clean it up, right? Because it says host Frank Lavinia. I wouldn't post this on my LinkedIn, like talking about myself in the third person. But just think about what's possible with this, right? And all you have to do is load your RSS feed into the system and all of this stuff becomes available. I can also add, I can add more metadata. What's really cool about this is that I picked this one because I'll put fun facts. So that way, when we do like a retrospective show or like someone out wants an anecdote about a particular episode, we can talk about, I can say like, well, I was actually in a lot of pain recording this, and you can actually see it in my face. And I was attending, Ignite, and you can see the hotel room in the background. And the reason why I was in pain was because we had a hot water leak, like literally 36 hours before I had to fly cross country. So I had to clean up the basement, put everything in a dumpster, and then get on a cross country flight, which I don't recommend it at any age, but I can tell you, anything that bent or moved hurt.
Oh, Frank.
So that's, and then the other thing I'm going to add is like, add sponsors, affiliates, like
Yeah.
you mentioned an audiobook called Vibe Coding. Fun fact, did you know that we have a sponsor? And that sponsor is Audible. And if you go to thedatadrivenbook.com, you will be routed to Audible and you will get a free audiobook on us. And you can have it be Andy's book or that he mentioned called Vibe Coding, or Jeff Wood's book called The AI-Driven Leader. So it's really kind of taking this to the next level, right? So the advantage of this is that realistically, if you're going to launch a podcast, and I say this to any podcaster or budding podcaster out there, right? Obviously the microphone's important, the camera's important, all that stuff. But there's a lot of other things to think about, right? Not just a lot of it is the marketing of it, right? Who's your target audience? What's your, the cool kids call that your avatar, right? Your typical thing. What's your audience? What are you trying to do? But the other thing, increasingly in a noisier and noisier world, how are you going to market this show across various social media networks, right?
Right.
And we've solved that problem with things like Dingo and buying Opus and things like that. But the next problem you have is creating content.
Right.
Like not just creating content, but managing it, right? So generally speaking, Opus is the clip that'll take a video and kind of cut it into like little short form videos. You get about one of those per minute, roughly, right? So let's just say a 60-minute podcast. Right? I already mentioned that you already have 4 bits of content, right? You have the actual audio of the show, the transcript, the thumbnail, possibly video as well, like the full-length video. But then now you add, if it's 60 minutes, you're going to have roughly 60 short videos. So now you go from, now you have 64, 65, 64 items now to track, right? And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're trying to organize things, it becomes a very, very tedious work right away, right? And what if you write a blog post about, the particular episode? Well, that's another asset you have to track. Be nice to know, because, up until then I was, Googling it basically against my own site. Like, where did I write that? Where did I put that? So now with this ability, you have the ability to track all that metadata in one place. And as it goes further along, I'm going to add the graph feature where I'll be able to upload metadata about each guest. Like this person works here, this is what they do. And then I want to be able to kind of track that. And I think that will also, aside from satiating my inner data visualization nerd, I think it also could help people figure out where the next opportunity is, right? Where the next opportunity to find guests. Maybe I'm over covering one type of industry. Maybe I'm not covering this, right? Eventually, I'd like to tie it into download statistics. So I can say like, hey, every time I talk about bioinformatics, like this happens, right? That sort of thing. And also help manage kind of, all these affiliate programs that we have, right? We have a program for Audible. We have a program for Opus. It'd be nice to kind of have that in one place as opposed to going around. What I do now is I go around different websites and find it. Candace, to her credit, shout out to you, Candace. She has them all in one spreadsheet, but that's still, it's still a cognitive kind of switch of, oh, I got to go to a spreadsheet. It'd be nice to have everything one place to rule them all. So that's my stump speech. I know I got to work on shortening my elevator pitch for it, but you're muted, Andy, so we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to cough last time. It's a great stump speech, Frank.
Thank you. So if folks are interested, let me know. I'm not that hard to find, LinkedIn or whatever. If you reach out to me, and we do go into wider beta testing, I'll let you have it. And obviously, if you're a long-time listener or even a short-time listener, whatever I decide to charge, you'll get a solid discount from.
Gotcha.
But cool, man.
So
and
I was testing
ahead.
thedatadrivenbook.com, and I believe that was, first off, I know the link has changed. It's been, I don't know, I don't want to
It
use the word
worked.
hijacked. When did it work?
Did it work? The datadrivenbook.com?
It doesn't.
No, that works for me.
Does it?
Yeah, it works on my machine.
Hmm.
You know what?
Why
We'll
doesn't it work on
include
mine?
in the show notes. We'll include the actual affiliate link.
I'm not sure what's going on. I've got a sneaking suspicion I do know what's going on.
All right. So in any case, I will make sure we put in the proper link. But there are other things too that, and like you said, like I've been working on optimizing things and things like that. It's more about, it's a testament to 1% improvement every day will compound
Absolutely, yeah.
into a ridiculous amount of optimization. So I mean, like I can turn one bit of content into, no exaggeration, like I said, like 60, 70 bits of content.
Oh goodness, yeah. Well,
Easy.
Opus is a big driver.
Opus is going to be a big driver of that, but there's other secret sauce I haven't shared yet. Like I shared with you, but I'm not shared publicly yet. Right. So
Sure.
there's definitely things you can do. And if you use your imagination, it's a lot hard to figure out, right? With all the other generative AI tools that we have.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
whether it's infographics, notebook LM, like that sort of thing, you can get kind of, one of the things I've discovered is you can get kind of orthogonal views across different AI models off of one transcript and compare them and see what resonates in one engine and what resonates versus another. There's a lot of
Yep.
opportunity there, right? Um, and I've certainly, I think if nothing else, transcripts are incredibly important, not just for accessibility, but like just for the ability for AI to ingest the content,
Yeah.
and it becomes very malleable. And it's I think that I don't think people en masse have realized that just yet.
No, I
Hopefully
totally
Podsy,
agree.
hopefully Podsy will change that. Hopefully Podsy will be a big driver of that, but we shall see.
And if you think about, what LLMs actually do,
Right,
they're all about the words, brother.
right,
So
100%. And
yeah, so transcripts filled with words.
I like that. That should be the tagline. Filled with words. You heard it here first. And I know you've been doing some exciting things with Claude. Um, it's very easy to get into the Debbie Downer mode of, oh my God, AI is going to take over. But I see opportunity here left and right. You
Yeah.
have to, there's a lot of opportunity here when it comes to how you can use AI to be more efficient, right?
Oh,
The
totally.
idea of us having a podcast, doing a podcast is one thing, but doing a podcast and having it appear everywhere. Like one of the best compliments I got was when I was at Ignite, somebody knows me from LinkedIn. They're like, "Oh my God, you're everywhere." you know, and it's funny. And we get emails and it's like, this goes for you and your team. And I'm like, I don't think the team's not as large as they think. I take it as a compliment,
It is a
you
compliment.
know.
Yeah.
So and I'm excited because, again, we're gonna sometime in the spring we'll have season 10 of Data Driven, if you can believe that.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
I know that
And
that's like 9 more seasons than I thought we'd have. And I didn't expect us to get nearly to this many episodes. I mean, we were excited, don't get me wrong. And we got out there and did the best that we could at the time. And I thought we had a fair start. We lined up some excellent guests. I think we
yes,
nailed that to start with. And that may be the secret sauce that propelled the podcast through to episode 400 here and beyond. So,
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
it was,
And one of the next logistical challenges I got to address is scheduling, right?
right.
Calendaring. We did use Microsoft Bookings. I want to keep our clean language rating, so I won't give people my opinion of Uh, there's two versions of bookings. There's the version that the way you think it's going to work or the way they advertise it work, and then the way it actually works.
Yeah.
And so I actually switched back to Calendly. Um, so as soon as I get that fixed up, that'll be on the site. I know we have a lot of folks reaching out to be in the show. Don't take it personally. It's just, it's been, I was talking to somebody this the other day, like between like mid-November when the water heater broke till basically this
Yeah.
week, I feel like I've been like running behind, trying to
Yeah.
catch up. But again, thanks to AI, I was able to crank out over 30,000 lines of code. In the spite of this, right? And I think we all have had those projects that have been back burner ideas that you think I'll get to it someday, and someday never comes, right?
Right. Right.
If you look at a calendar, there's 7 days in the week. None of them are someday. I mean,
Very true.
So thank you. I want to say thank you to everyone who helped us get to 400 episodes. It's pretty wild. Like I remember listening to podcasts just, when I was just a young lad living in Richmond. I was listening to .NET Rocks, and they were already at like episode, I think by then they were like at episode 400. They were up there.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, man, that must be some achievement to get to that many episodes. Not just, having a podcast and doing that, but getting to that point. And here we are.
I know. It just seems surreal that we got here. And we definitely could not have made it here this far without our audience. Y'all rock. And we do really appreciate y'all hanging with us through all of this. I'd say we had a couple of challenges with like scheduling. Certainly, you mentioned that the scheduling with the calendaring part, but even there were a couple of times where we had trouble getting guests lined up, and the number of shows being put out lapsed, and part of that was just due to stuff going on in my and Frank's life that happens. It certainly wasn't intentional, and one thing I took away from it, even then, I was surprised by how many people would reach out to me and say, "When's the next episode of Data Driven coming out?" They weren't mean or anything about it. It wasn't accusations. It was all along the lines of, "Gosh, we missed the show. We miss hearing from you guys." And
that's good. That's nice. That's nice to hear.
It was a compliment.
Like, yeah. We are going to work on that. Like, even if it means that we had Candace as sub in for Andy. I don't want people to think that, if Andy doesn't appear for a while, it's nothing personal. It's just that he couldn't make it. Right? Like, I don't want to start that. I don't want, Candace is a lot more strict with the scheduling. So she's effectively joined our team. So she's a lot stricter with the
Candace is awesome.
Candace is awesome. She's joined our team, and so if Andy can't make it, she'll show up, and maybe we'll have a few more surprise like stand-in guests. Johnny Carson did it.
Yeah, heck yeah, it worked for him.
Yeah, he did pretty well. Most kids today won't know who Johnny Carson is, but
he was the host before Jay Leno. And you know what? Some kids won't know who Jay Leno is.
I was going to say, was it Jimmy Kimmel? No, it was who has...
Kimmel guest hosted, I think, on The Tonight Show for a while.
He did. And then who got The Tonight Show? Was it was David Letterman?
Was it Conan?
No. It was Conan, and then Leno took it back, and then now it's somebody else. I think it's he used to be on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I don't know who's doing it now. It's been so long since I don't stay awake that late at night anymore, Frank. And you don't. I know you don't either, because there's been plenty of times when I've been in the office here at like 4 a.m.
And I'm texting with you.
I'll get a check. Yeah, I'll get a text. This is Frank.
Who has the Tonight Show now? I gotta know now. Who runs the Tonight Show? Now you got to
know. Yeah.
I can see the guy's face. I can't think of it. It's Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon. That's right.
So apparently it used to be, here are the former hosts was Jimmy Fallon, Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, Steve Allen, Jack Parr.
Wow.
Yeah. That goes Jack Parr. Steve Allen and Jack Parr, like, our parents' generation would know them.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's wild. I don't know how we got on that tangent. It's kind of what we do. I really would like to start making money with it so we could have an off-road race rally sponsorship car. Imagine like this data driven on it. And it's like, why'd you
That
do
could
that?
work.
Because we're always going off track. But dump. That was Stu Ainsworth's idea, actually.
I think he said that, yes.
Yeah. Stu and I are in a very similar place because he posted recently, like 4 to 6 weeks ago, about how he's largely doing work outside the Microsoft data ecosystem.
Mm.
I think you and I were talking about that. And
Yeah,
then I'm
yeah.
largely outside the Microsoft ecosystem these
I'm
days.
lagging behind you guys, but I'm moving that direction.
I'm telling you, man, I know you finally installed Linux. And you did that earlier on when you got your new laptop.
True.
I'm not going to use this space to bash Windows 11. I already have done that on my LinkedIn newsletter multiple times. But our next episode, which is set to air, I recorded with Andrew Brust, who is a RD, which is like a Microsoft MVP plus. And we have an interesting chat about Fabric and kind of all of that. So,
okay.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
really sorry I missed that recording.
Yeah, he says to
Gosh.
say hello. He says that at the end of the episode. Tell Andy I said hello. But we got to have him back on, right? Because there's only so much you could talk about Fabric, right? And there are definitely a lot of things I wanted to say about Fabric that, but anyway, but I think Fabric is in the right direction, in terms of
I
how
concur.
do you do that. But I think though that the world at large, and this could be my bias, is it's becoming more and more about private AI, local AI. I think in a very
that's why
real
I
sense.
installed Linux.
Right.
You know, because that was my number one goal, was to be able to run an LLM locally.
Right.
And then after that, I want to learn more about how I could train that LLM to, kind of shift its focus even. And, I totally get it. We have some clients at Enterprise Data and Analytics, and some, I guess, I'll use the word partners, businesses that we're engaged with or communicating about engaging with. And I learned from one group that is in Europe that, there are a number of countries where part of the culture, the technology culture in that country, is very much anti-cloud. And it's not paranoia, it's just a lack of trust.
I don't think the big tech industry, has done a lot to engender trust. If you look at,
Totally agree.
some of the privacy violations that have happened across different social networks and things like that, I can totally understand it.
Yeah.
And you also have to remember, like, if you're in the United States, you have your choice of multiple cloud providers across multiple time zones. There are not Microsoft or AWS or Google data centers in every country in the world, which means your data has to leave your country, which it turns out that, reality strike, we should call this phase of the internet reality strikes back, right? The whole idea of, the cyberspace is its own independent, separate thing is not held true, right? Because at the end of the day, everything virtual has to exist somewhere on planet Earth, right?
Yep.
What'll be interesting is that if the talk of building data centers in orbit becomes true,
that will be interesting.
It'll be interesting, right? Will they flag them? Will it work like merchant? I don't know anything about space law, but I would imagine it would probably be kind of like maritime law in a sense, right? Like, would the data centers would they be flagged? Would they be like, this is operating under US law, this is operating under, EU law? That'll be interesting to see
It's
how
an
that.
interesting point. Yeah, see how it all works out.
It's almost like we should have a podcast about future facing tech and AI.
Foreshadow much?
foreshadow much. It, but once I get Podsy finished and I have an even smoother workflow,
There we
the
go.
the barriers that I currently have will no longer apply. So if you think we're doing a lot
Various
now,
barriers.
we don't need no stinking barriers. So with that in mind, I have multiple text windows like people needing to reach me. Definitely stay tuned. We'll talk more about Podsy in a future episode, and
Yeah.
Andy's still with us, and we'll look
I'm still
forward
with
to
us.
wrapping up season 9 and then kicking off season 10. Woohoo!
It's going to be awesome, Frank.
100%. And thank you everyone once again.